What's up YouTube? This is going to be a super fun video because I'm doing something I don't think I've seen a lot of other content creators do. We're going to be walking through my portfolio. So I'm going to pull up my portfolio, we're going to walk through a few projects, I'm going to tell you why I made some of the design decisions that I made. I'm really excited. I hope you find a lot of value in this video. So with that, let's dive into the video. So we've got Behance pulled up, and one thing you'll notice right away if you scroll through my profile is that I don't have a specific style. A lot of my projects feel very different, and that's because I believe that I need to adapt my design style to what the business needs. So unlike a lot of designers who have a very similar style and feel to their work, I think it's really important that you tailor the type of design and the way it looks and the way it feels to what the business actually is trying to do and the customers they're trying to reach. Good design principles are universal, so it doesn't really matter if it's my personal preference of style or not. I'm always trying to make sure that the style fits the business. And the first example I want to bring up is a great example of that. It's actually a two-part project, both the brand design and the product design for the company Revelar. Revelar is a startup company that I actually helped co-found that was building a platform for NFT management in video games. So the Revelar brand was really focused about pioneering this new wave of technology in the video game industry, and so we wanted the brand to feel reflective of that. In fact, the name Revelar actually means to reveal. As a team, we really felt like we were revealing to the traditional gaming community the power of blockchain technology and the ability for them to own their actual game assets. So the company really needed to feel very futuristic, it needed to feel very modern. We really felt like we were reaching for the stars on this, and we wanted to reflect that in the branding. What you'll notice is I pulled a lot of inspiration when I designed this brand from kind of a space age sci-fi style. The logo identity is a solar system, which is easily recognizable in the logo animation, but it's also an eyeball, which harkens back to the namesake to reveal, really opening the eyes of the gaming community to Web3. The color palette is directly inspired by the movie Tron, which we felt was a good reflection of what we wanted our brand to feel like. And then we paired that with a gradient, space age, black and white, kind of starry galaxy layout style. We use a lot of sci-fi feeling elements such as HUD elements in the layout design to kind of complement that gradient blue and orange color palette that we had going on. And when you blended that with modern typography layout and typeface design, we had a really strong brand image for the brand Revelar, which was supposed to be appealing to gamers as well as game creators that are interested in this new Web3 environment. Now that you understand the brand problem we were trying to solve, let's dive into the product design side of the platform Revelar so I can show you how we translated this brand into a product platform. When it came to the actual product of Revelar, we were building a SaaS platform that enabled game creators to easily manage and track their NFT assets on their respective chain. So the SaaS product really needed to be focused around data display. We needed to show them how their different NFT collections were doing. We needed to enable them to be able to easily upload and create collections, organize groupings, and so forth. As the lead designer on this project and the creator of the Revelar brand, I really wanted to make sure that it felt cohesive. Sometimes I think businesses struggle between the app design and the brand that's kind of consumer facing, and it will oftentimes feel like once you enter the app, you've entered into a totally different brand. This was an experience I really wanted to make sure felt seamless to the user. That being said, we also wanted to use good user experience techniques that felt familiar and easy to navigate because you don't want users to get lost on your platform. So you'll notice that the layout design for the platform feels very familiar to what you might find on any SaaS platform or dashboard. This is because the platform uses a lot of standard UX techniques. We have the dashboard menu on the side, we've got the search bar at the top, it's laid out on an 8-column grid. It's very modular in design, which makes it easily responsive, but also feels really unique, like it's one of a kind. I didn't want this to feel like any other standard SaaS platform, so I utilized common design technique, but I paired that with inspiration that I drew from things that supported the brand image we wanted to portray. I looked at things like spaceship consoles or sci-fi computers to pull the inspiration for how the dashboard needed to look and feel. I mean, you'll notice it's a very dark color palette design with accents in blue and orange, which match the Revelar branding. I used the blue as like a call to action, so around buttons that were important or things that you might be looking for really quickly. And then we used shades of gray to represent different levels of depth on the UI design. Here's a quick note when you're doing UI design. It's really important that you don't use black. Like the Revelar branding was black, and that's fine. We can use that on a consumer-facing brand. But when you're building a software, you really don't want your app to be in black or white. You always want to use some sort of shades of gray. It's just too harsh on the eyes to look at black and white. So this is a good example of that. It matches that Revelar branding, but we brought the shades up a little bit to tiers of gray. Another quick note is you always want to be aware of depth on your designs. When you're building a platform, a lot of times you have things stacked on top of each other, such as these modules or panels, which are stacked on top of the background. You always want to make sure that your darkest color is in the back, and then you get lighter as you kind of come forward on the design. Now there's a few exceptions to that rule. One of them is buttons that are pressed. If it's like depressed or pressed into the design, that can be darker than the foreground because it kind of creates a little bit of depth, like as if the button is farther back than the panel. But for the most part, if you're stacking things on top of each other, you want to go from darkest in the back to lightest. Now I talked about earlier how my portfolio features a lot of different design styles. If you don't think design style is important, I want to show you another project. This project is a brand creation for a design and build showroom. So think about somebody building a new house. They're going in to pick out their finishes, their countertops, their paint colors, their flooring, that sort of a thing. If this client came to me and I was only capable of designing in kind of that sci-fi feel, if that was what I was known for and all I did, I probably wouldn't be able to do a very effective brand for this client. This is a totally different audience than gamers and NFT nerds. This time we're going after a high-end clientele. It's a premium design experience. We want people to feel confident that they're putting in the nicest, highest quality finishes into their home. So unlike the Revelar brand, which is loud and in your face and all these design elements all over the page, I chose to go simple and minimalistic. This is a very modernist type of design feel, actually just a really simple word mark, which is kind of a derivative font from Helvetica. This is actually called Founders Grotesque. It's a really clean typeface. You can go check it out. I'll link it down in the description below. I didn't want to go too loud with this design though, because I wanted the items themselves, the countertops and the marbles and the wood textures, to really speak for themselves. The name Bacodi is actually a premium type of wood, so we wanted to make sure we implemented some sort of wood texture into the design, but I decided I was going to rely on the textures and imagery to really drive the brand forward. So I really leaned into the layout design style. You notice all of the big imagery, the simplistic type, the minimalist layout design. This gives the brand a premium feel, and we paired that with a color palette that was mostly neutral, so mostly white and gray, and just a splash of green, just a touch of kind of sage emerald green color. This shade of green is desaturated, it's very calming, it's very peaceful, and that's the kind of experience we want people to have when they come into this store. We want people to be confident in where they're coming to buy the materials for building that new home. Let's jump back over to the NFT side of things and check out this media campaign for Coinbase. Now I did a whole video on my channel about this particular project where I actually walked you through as I was doing it, so you can see the development start to finish. I'll go ahead and link that up there so you can check out that full video, but really quickly I just want to touch on the problem and solution that we were looking at here. It's really important when you're building a portfolio that with each project you talk about the problem you were facing and how you use design to solve that problem. In this case, we wanted to bring awareness to the not your keys and not your coins movement, and particularly we wanted to promote Coinbase's custodial wallet for your crypto. Now with something like this that's like a social media campaign, we have a little more creative freedom, but we still want it to feel reflective of the overall brand of the company. So Coinbase has a very Bauhaus style, which is a lot of shapes and a lot of movement. I wanted to reflect that, so I chose to animate a lot of these posts using those shapes and that kind of style of Coinbase. We created a key and a hand and some different elements, and we used those elements throughout lots of different layout designs. Using similar elements across lots of different layouts is a great way to bring synergy to a project and really make it feel like its own thing. We're gonna keep moving along, but check out the Coinbase video for more on that project because it's really interesting and you're gonna learn a lot about the process. If you want a color theory 101 lesson, check out this project Duo. Duo is a humor-based card pairing game for mobile, and each card has a different type of humor. So what did I do? I used color theory to reinforce the humor type that was on the card. So the way you felt about the content on the card should be reflected by what you're seeing and how you feel about the color palette. I'm not gonna go through each one of these individually because it would take a long time, but there's some really cool color theory elements and you can read about them on my portfolio website. But let me just give you a few examples really quickly. For dark humor, I wanted people to feel really uneasy about it. So I used red as a primary, and then I paired that with purple and yellow. These are colors that you usually don't see together because they're actually kind of next to each other on the color wheel. But what happens when we use colors that are next to each other on the color wheel is they kind of make us feel uneasy inside. They're not really complementary. It's important to know how these colors work together because it can really impact psychology. Another great example of this is the cringe humor, the potty humor. We used yellow and green, which again aren't colors that you typically use together. I mean, there's a reason that most villains in movies are wearing purple or green, or a combination of purple and green. They're not really appealing colors to look at. They make you feel uneasy, so you kind of feel uneasy about the villain or the character. Utilizing color theory is extremely powerful, so understand it and use it to your advantage and you'll be so much better off. Similarly, shape theory is really important. In this game, we want it to feel fun and approachable. It doesn't need to feel like a space console like Revelar. We wanted this to feel like something I could do with my friends. To make it feel more approachable, you round the edges. As humans, sharp edges are kind of off-putting. They have a modern feel to them, but they also can feel kind of uneasy. One of my favorite examples of this is actually the movie Star Wars, where the spaceships, all the bad guy spaceships have hard edges and hard lines in their triangles, and all the good guy spaceships are like round and bubbly. There's a reason for this. It's not just coincidence, it's because it actually has an impact on our psychology. So in this app design, all of the buttons are circles or circular in nature, and we reflected the color theory from the cards into the button design. So things like deactivate or back were buttons that we made red, and we made them associated with the dark humor so that you kind of felt uneasy about them. And the buttons we wanted you to press, the matchmake button or the play button, we made those buttons blue, which is the trustworthy color. It's calming. It's also the color of witty humor in this game. That's all we have time for today. I hope you got a glimpse into some of my design processes and you found it valuable. If you did, please like this video, share it with your friends, and I'll see you all in the next video.